Hi everyone, welcome to part two of our What I Wish I'd Known series featuring 10KIF Alumni, EA, Mary, and Amy. Please note that this is a safe space to have your questions and queries answered, so please submit any questions you have in the Q&A/chat box to be answered at the end by our alumni. We'll wait a few moments and then we'll get started shortly. Cool, should we start? And then everyone else will just join shortly. Okay, so we'll start off with some introductions. So let's dive in.
Hello everyone, hope you're well. My name is Mary Adeniyi. I studied law at the University of Kent just before I graduated in 2023. I was lucky enough to gain a compliance internship at a company. I was there for 3 months, really enjoyed it, but didn't stay because they didn't have any open vacancies at the time. So after I finished my internship, I then became a waitress for an event company, which I'm still there to this day. In my spare time, I'm also applying to roles within my field, so compliance/law. Last year I applied for the 10,000 back interns, managed to get another compliance internship. And I was with an insurance company. Really enjoyed my time there again. I was there for 6 weeks, but again, didn't stay because they didn't have any open vacancies when I was there. So what I do now, I'm still a waitress at an events company whilst also applying for full-time roles in my fields. I have an interview tomorrow, so hopefully that goes well. And I also have a blog as well where I talk about the business and finance world and provide commentary and analysis on them. So that's my career journey to date.
Thank you for sharing.
Hi everyone, hope you're all well. My name's Amy. I'm 25. I went to uni, feels like a long time ago now, in Northampton. I studied economics and econometrics. I was in the first cohort of 10,000 Black interns back when it was just 100 of us. I applied in 2020 and started my internship in 2021. It was in a consulting firm, but I specialized in executive recruiting for investment banks. I did that for 6 weeks. I then stayed and was there for 3 years in total. So I only did one internship. I have left that world now and I work in tech for a US tech company. Still in exec hiring. And yeah, that's a bit about me. Lovely to speak with you guys today.
Love that. Thank you.
Hi
Last.
everyone. Hi everyone. My name's EA. So I studied so I just graduated uni last year, studied computer science at the University of Liverpool. And this was my first time applying for 10K, which was last year as well, for the 10K internship scheme. And I got to be a media planner at the BBC. So I did that last summer, which was really interesting. So I did that for 2 months. Yeah, just 8 weeks, and that was really, really good. And then from there, I've moved on to work now. So I now work for Foot Asylum, and I work in the head office, basically doing their social media marketing for Foot Asylum and all the brands that they own.
I love that. I know you also made a comment and you were sharing the stuff that you make them a lot of money too.
I made them a lot of
Yeah.
money. I should get a percentage.
Thank you all for sharing. Let's actually dive into the panel and so you guys can actually further dive into your internship experience and how it shaped who you are today. So firstly, if you had to summarize your biggest internship lesson in 3 words, what would they be and why? Who would like to start?
I can start.
Of course.
So the three words I went for were insightful. I'll say the words and I'll go through them one by one. So it was insightful, curiosity, and also communication. So first of all, I said insightful purely because that was my first ever time of being like in the corporate world, for example. Like I never previously to that I'd done like maybe like agency work and stuff when I was in like college or like times in uni, but I'd never been in like the corporate environment. So it's very like insightful for me to see and interesting to see like what it's like being in like a massive organization like the BBC, seeing how things run, seeing like what everyone actually does. Because I would always ask people like, what do you actually like do day to day? Because like I know you like this is your job, this is your position, but like day to day, like what are you doing like hour by hour? So learning a lot about that was insightful for me. I'll say curiosity as well because I was very, very curious during it, just because I was just so like interested in like what people did and like what journey led them to do what they do. So I was definitely very curious. I asked loads and loads of questions. Just like I feel like I feel like people say it all the time, but it's so true. There's no such thing as like a stupid question. Like you might as well ask as many questions because you'll never know what information you're gonna receive from like you could get a gem from a question that you just didn't know it would come from that. And lastly, I said communication as well, because I think as an intern, it's very important to communicate because I would say you're they're receiving as much value as you're receiving from them as well. So you want to make sure you communicate with whoever it may be, your manager in the internship, to make sure that you're getting the best out of your internship because you might only be there for, well, I was there for 8 weeks. So, and you realize 8 weeks actually it goes really, really quickly, like especially when you get into it before you know it's over. So you might as well communicate and try to get the best out of the internship.
I love that. Mary or Amy, do you have anything else to add or?
Yeah, so for me, I think my few words would be eye-opening, informative, and fun. So just to go through each one of them. Eye-opening because I've had some experience in compliance, but that was within a completely different field. So gaining some experience within the financial services, i.e. insurance, specifically was really eye-opening. I learned a lot about things I've never ever heard of before, such as what procurement is and what a procurement team within an organization does. Also learned new rules and regulations that affect financial companies, such as consumer duty. I'd never ever heard of that before in my life, even when I was studying law at university. Yeah, and I learned a bunch of other new things that really solidified the fact that, okay, I actually do want a career in compliance. Fun because there were points during my internship where I got to go to like lunches with my managers. For example, I remember one time we went to a local like pub place, which was, I guess at the time, a bit unexpected for me because I had it in mind to go to lunch downstairs in the canteen. I never thought I would hop in one of their cars and, drive all the way to a local pub. So that was really, really fun. And I got to learn more about the managers and what they do in a more informal setting. And I also say fun because there was a point where I got to attend courts, which was actually very insightful and informative because I'd never actually been to, it was specifically the Court of Appeal, and companies there, they only go there when, something major is happening. So there was a case against the company and I went there to go and witness what was going on. I got to see the judges in action and it was all the way in London. And just to give a bit more context to my internship, I was specifically a compliance and legal support intern at Ageas Insurance, and the head office was all the way in Hampshire, and I'm from London, so traveling there at least 2 to 3 days a week, that was yeah, really fun for me as well, because I got to explore the area and things like that. So yeah, informative, insightful, and fun and eye-opening are my few words that I would use. Yeah, that's me.
I would say interesting as well as like you, EA. It was my first corporate job before I had been a lifeguard and worked at Nando's. So it was my first time actually stepping into an office. And I was the only intern at the time and the only Black person in the building. So that's why I say interesting. I learned a lot as well. I'd say my second word would be networking. I learned how powerful networking is and how just being in certain rooms will, open different doors to opportunities and get you to kind of meet people as well. And you never know who you meet, who they could potentially, or where they could potentially take you. So I say networking. And then last being confidence. I learned how important having confidence actually is. And if you come across shy, people can sense that and feel that. So faking it till you make it is something that I kept telling myself. And I think it, pretending to be confident, but of course not arrogant, paid off. So those are probably the 3 words I'd say.
I love those so much, and I feel like it segues very nicely into like my next question that I'm so like excited to ask you is like, what actions or mindsets helped you kind of like step out of your comfort zone and challenge yourself during your internship?
I'm happy to go first. I would say I don't think I ever really stepped out of well, I did step out my comfort zone in my internship, but I didn't let it show. I think I had to keep telling myself like they picked me to be here, even though I don't have a clue what's going on. I didn't know what the company did. I didn't know what my role was. I didn't know anything. So I just kind of thought, they picked me for a reason. I got through the interviews for a reason. So now it's my role to learn as much as possible, meet as many people as possible, and try and help where I can, even if it's like a little admin task, just try and kind of get involved and meet as many people as possible. So I think just trying and acknowledging that I don't know everything, I don't know anything, and coming to the table being a helper rather than an intern that's trying to outsmart people that have, this is their career. So I just came with curiosity, and I think that helped me to kind of get through it.
Yeah, so backing off Ami's point, as she said, like they picked her. So like on our first day, we had like a little session, and they basically said like if anyone's like I can't remember how to put it, not like scared, but like if you're nervous or something about um working here, like you have to remember that there's a reason that you were picked. Like you went through the interviews and they saw loads of different people and they picked you for a reason. So it's actually like you deserve to be there. So I feel like as soon as I heard that, I mean, for me personally, I like to think I'm quite confident anyway, but hearing that as well, definitely double backed, being like, oh, okay, like I'm actually supposed to be here. Like there's a reason they picked me because they actually wanted me as an intern here. And then through that, I think it definitely helps like boost my confidence throughout the whole internship.
And I think for me, one mindset shift that really helped me was to be open-minded. So I was telling myself this even before I began my internship. And like EA and Amy were saying, you're there for a reason. They picked you because they like you and they want you to be there. So now it is up to you to, do your best and make yourself stand out. And to me, being open-minded when it came to tasks and things like that really helped me to step out of my comfort zone and challenge myself during my internship. Because for me, this could either like make or break how my overall experience at the internship went. So I was also reminded of a quote, and it says, sometimes you have to be, uncomfortable in order to grow. So I remember during my first week, they came up to me saying, oh, Mary, do you want to help us shape our human rights policy? And I said, yes. I could have said no, but I was like, yes, even though I know nothing about human rights as it pertains to Ageas Insurance as an insurance company. But I said yes to challenge myself, to get myself out of my comfort zone. And I also had to remind myself that, yeah, I'm only here for 6 weeks. I need to learn as much as I can. And sometimes that means throwing yourself into the deep end, even if your knowledge is like 0% about something. And at the end of it, I actually presented it to a few people within the company, and some senior people were there and they gave me some good feedback. So had I not, said yes to that unexpected opportunity as I see it, I wouldn't have learned what I learned back then and grown as a person as well. So yeah, being open-minded is something that definitely helped me to learn a lot more during my internship.
I love that. And I just want to say, like, those mindsets really do underpin how you can kind of like overcome imposter syndrome. So you guys sound incredibly confident and just so open to like challenges. So I wanted to ask for like any interns out there who are maybe struggling with imposter syndrome and are a bit anxious, how did you get to like this space of like confidence and just wanting to take an adventure like by its hands? Could you provide like any strategies or any tips for achieving those type of mindsets?
I think because of the environment I was in, like investment banking, I think you have to, otherwise you're gonna get swallowed up. So I just kind of almost lied to myself and I was like, you can do this. Like just try, just at least try. You've got here, you're here now, so you might as well make the most of the 6 weeks. So I think I just psychologically just kind of kept telling myself to try. You never know until you try. And also realizing that they've hired an intern, they're not expecting you to even be great at the job or to know what's going on. So I always have a high bar for myself anyway, but trying to realize that, they're not expecting me to do this task 100% because it's my first time. So being real with yourself, but at the same time, if you do have imposter syndrome, just trying to psychologically get yourself out of there just by trying. And then, if you do succeed or if you're good at something or if you receive good feedback, then taking that and being like, okay, like I did this task, they said I did this well, this is the feedback that I need to work on. And, being humble enough to receive feedback and, understand what you need to work on and continue moving from there. I think, it's baby steps, but it definitely kind of, works, I think.
And just to add a bit to what Annie was saying, sort of similar. What I would do to sort of beat imposter syndrome would be to tell myself that what my mind is telling me is actually a lie. And I would tell myself, just do it, similar to Nike's slogan, just do it. Like you never know where it can lead to and the opportunities that can come from it. Yeah, just like with what I said before, that opportunity that came to, do some research for the company and actually help shape a policy that's important to them. I was like to myself, just do it, Mary, just do it. And yeah, at the end, it really, really increased my confidence, not just in myself, but my own confidence to do research to a sort of high level and present it succinctly to, I guess, members of senior team and things like that. So just do it. You might just surprise yourself, and yeah, I think you're gonna grow a lot in the process as well.
Yeah, to piggyback back off both points, I do think it is very like psychological, like it's all in the brain. And I feel like once you I think you should always like tell yourself so like once you overcome that first hurdle, it gets like so much easier. Like you might be like building up in your head thinking like could be nervous, like feeling imposter syndrome in the workplace, but then as you realize that as you like take that first hurdle, which could be hard sometimes, like you realize straight after that like you can just do it again and do it again and do it again. And before you know it, like you're just gonna feel natural about it and that imposter syndrome will just sort of disappear.
No, I agree. No, thank you for sharing those tips. I'm also curious, kind of like, were there any beliefs or assumptions that you had to let go of during your internship?
I'll start with one. I feel like I had a belief, but I feel like it maybe faded quite quickly. I had a belief that like because obviously I just graduated uni, so I wasn't even actually looking for. It probably took around like halfway through the internship for me to actually start looking for jobs as well, like outside of within the BBC. Like I think I very much went in with the belief as in like, oh yeah, I'm doing this internship, and then yeah, I'm just staying on. They're gonna just keep me on, and like I'm just gonna carry on working here. So I feel like that was a belief that I had before it, which I would say isn't always. I think it's very company dependent. Like some companies may be looking for that like an internship which they can carry on. But I would say don't specifically go into an internship with that belief that like, okay, yeah, like I don't need to look elsewhere or do anything else because like this is now my career sorted and guaranteed.
And I think for me, one I guess, lie that I had to myself was that I'm just an intern. And with me, that connotes to the idea that what you'll be doing there, your work isn't valuable. And during my first week, that, I guess, to me, that lie flew out of my head, because literally during my second day, I was given a real responsibility to, like, monitor a few things, and they asked for my feedback. And I was like, oh, they're asking for my feedback and what I think. So whilst you are doing your internship, be reminded that the work you're doing actually does have an impact. And if you want to, know more context as to the task you've been given, just ask. Sometimes knowing why you're doing something and the bigger picture behind that task can actually, help you to produce your work even better and to a higher level. So you're not just an intern, you're actually a very valuable member of whatever team you're in. And yeah, so that's something that, yeah, helped me.
I agree with both points. I think I came into a different environment, being A, the youngest in the company, B, the only intern, and C, the only Black person or ethnically diverse person in the firm. So my first inkling was like, oh, no one looks like me. So, why am I here? And I had to get over that, pretty quickly and just again focus on, they hired me for a reason. Let me at least try and, be good at the task that I'm given. So that really kind of that mindset of, okay, let me prove myself through the work like being delivered, and kind of A, good feedback, and B, respect. And then psychologically in my head, I was like, okay, like, I'm more than my environment. Like everyone else went to private school, I didn't, but, you know, I'm more than that. And the work itself can, get me to being where these individuals are or even further. So that was kind of something that I had to get over.
Thank you for candidly sharing that. I mean, I think if, with your permission and if you're comfortable sharing, what was kind of that experience of navigating all of those firsts, if you don't mind sharing? It's okay if you don't, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to share. I mean, I don't know, I didn't expect there to be a bunch of people that looked like me, but I didn't expect to be the only one. But that's clearly why, some of these companies have signed up for the program, right? So I think the first thing, like I was like, okay, whoa, this is a lot to take in. But I also kind of thought the more I spoke to people, I was meeting people who even in this country have never even like met a Black person. You wouldn't believe it, but it's true. So I think I just went and I was like, okay, like let me represent my people like in the most positive way that I can. And then I also kind of thought, okay, we have to take environment and race out of everything, and it's all about the work, and my work has to be good because A, I want to represent myself well, but B, I want to like break down any biases that anyone has because they're from a different walk of life to me. So I think I just wanted to represent again myself and my people well, but also I just had to get over it quickly. I didn't really like have a choice. There's no one I can, cry and wallow to. I told my mom about it when I after my first day, and she was like, that's the world. Like that's the corporate world. Again, this is 2020, 2021. So yeah, I just had to kind of get over it and just dive into the work and focus on the work rather than cry and think, oh, where is everyone that looks like me? I had to just get over it.
No, I completely understand. No, and thank you for sharing. I mean, Mary and have you ever experienced something similar or like navigating like the first, even if it's like being the first Black person, being the first like, not being privately educated or in any sense?
I know I definitely have, and this was during my first internship at Medway North. Yeah, I think when I applied, or when I was when after I'd been accepted, actually, I was doing some research into the company. I didn't realize that, oh, all right, this is majority Caucasian people, and I sort of tried to mentally prepare myself for that. So by the time I actually went into the office, I was sort of, prepared, and um I had to also have it in the back of my mind that if I guess certain people do have certain, I guess, biases or something, how can the work I do sort of help to, for lack of a better words, influence their biases away? And what I wanted to do was also similar to what Annie was saying. So the work I wanted to produce, I wanted it to be good, and to a high quality, so that maybe in the future, when the companies wants to hire, I guess, more people, they would, I guess, look more to people who don't look like them because they've experienced, I guess, someone, i.e. me at the company, who's actually done very well and produced work to a high degree. But thinking of it now, I think there were only a handful of, I guess, for lack of a better word, minority ethnics that were there. And yeah, I remember speaking to one, and she became a good friend of mine at the company. And I'm still in contact with her today, and she's still there actually. So she's been there for like 7 years now. And she was telling me about her journey as being the only, I guess, minority ethnic, because at the time she worked in the finance company. So hearing her story and how she overcame her personal struggles and workplace biases really encouraged me at the time to, continue going and to not apply for companies that, to not shy away from applying to companies that have a majority, I guess, Caucasian or any other type of people. So yeah, that really helped me.
For me, it was slightly different. So when I started my internship, we started in the London, like we did the first induction in the London office, where when we got there, it was quite, I would say it was quite diverse. Obviously, there was a decent amount of minority ethnic people. So I just assumed, but I was doing my internship in Salford in the Media City place, so I just assumed it would be like quite similar. And so once we had done the induction, got back to Salford, and we entered that building, like we did not see any like ethnic people there. So it was quite a shock. But I think it was, for me anyway, it was quite easy for me to like feel comfortable anyway, purely because I had another intern who was exactly in the same position as me. So like we had four of us in Salford, which were two others were in the other teams, and then me and one of the intern were in the same team. So I basically had that person I was always with, doing the same work with as well. So I felt comfortable anyway, and we were able just to do things together, and I didn't feel sort of out of place because I know I had another intern who's exactly in the same position as me.
No, I love that. And thank you all for sharing. I think just to add to that point of like never feeling out of place is also, as you guys, just to echo what you earlier said about how you deserve to be there, and that it is about this program opening doors so you can be there to build yourself and build your career too. But yeah, I just want to say thank you all for sharing. But on that note as well, about, because there seemed to be a very common theme about utilizing work a lot to really just build your experience, but also build your personal brand. So I wanted to ask, what moment during your internship made you feel most capable, and what did that really reveal about your strengths and who you are? And it's quite a big question.
I can go first. So during my internship, there was all the interns, like we were split into like two sort of groups. And so with one of the groups, we had like a task which was to basically, I feel like they really wanted like our younger Black people, especially younger, because like the BBC have a big struggle with reaching the younger audiences, which is like their main issue that they have to tackle and like struggle to face. So they brought us on. They were like, you guys, you need to figure it out, basically. They've done that for the previous interns as well. They were just like, they gave us a task to basically create like a presentation and do um a project and then give a presentation on how we can basically improve BBC to younger audiences. So that's something that we like worked on like just while doing all our own internships. So in spare times we'd always like arrange meetings to work on it and practice it. And so once we actually finished that in the last week, we presented it was just like to our managers. And then once our managers heard it, they were just like, wow, this is like amazing. Like this needs to go to the like executives, like the next people up anyway. So then we presented it again basically to them, and they were just like, oh, this is amazing. Like this needs to go to like the top people. So they're like, can you guys do the presentation again, please? So we're like, oh yeah, of course. So we did it again to like the top people of the company. And then they were just like, so we basically decided to improve the BBC Sounds, which is like one of their products that the BBC have. And once like the director heard it, they basically said to us, like, okay, this needs to get told to every single person who works in BBC Sounds or has anything to do with BBC Sounds. So then we had like one more presentation with like hundreds of people just with the whole BBC Sounds team. And so when we were doing that, and obviously presented it to people who were higher up, and then presented it to the whole team, I feel like it gave quite like a good boost of confidence. Like, oh, we actually did something. We did something good here.
That's a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing. And I'm glad that you was able to increase your presentation skills there as well.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
And I think for me, during my time at Educe Insurance, I was given, I guess, the task of working with the company secretary and people from other teams to basically come up with training for current employees who could progress onto senior positions within the company. So like an entry-level candidate becoming an associate, or an associate becoming, the president or something like that. So I remember being locked away in a room with the company secretary and one other person, and we basically hashed out potential training materials for these sorts of employees. And at that point, it made me realize that, I guess, a strength of mine that I have is research, because beforehand they gave me a mini task to conduct some research into, roles of directors of companies and things like that. So that's what I did, and I then presented what I found to them. And yeah, I got praised for the good feedback. And that day we spent literally the whole day from like 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. hashing out presentations that the employees could do to see if they would be a good fit to progress onto, C-suite positions and management positions. So that was really eye-opening. And yeah, my communication also improved as well. It's still something that I'm growing in, but doing things like this as well has really helped me to sort of turn, I guess, a weakness in a way into an improving strength. And yeah, so I really got to hone in on my research skills and other areas of myself as well. So that was really, really good for that.
I love that. And like from that experience, did you kind of like set any other milestones, or like, I guess, kind of like reassess like, okay, these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses, this is what I want to work on during the internship? Like, did you collaborate with like your mentor or hiring manager following that to do that?
So in terms of, I guess, the specific example I gave, no, I know we didn't do any sort of collaboration after that, but I know that they used the ideas I said to them. They're going to ponder on it and think on it, because it's still in the early days. I think even now it's still in the early days, because it's something that they want to get right and do well. But yeah, I didn't end up collaborating with any others during my internship. But that one was actually a highlight of my internship, just to say the least. And I guess in terms of communication, there was at one point where I had the opportunity to, I guess, I think I've said it before, attend the Court of Appeal. And there, before all the barristers and legal counsel, etc., went into the court to, present what it is they were presenting in front of the judges, I had the opportunity to sit down with, I guess, people who were involved in the company. So the barristers, the legal counsel from different law firms and other people. So there was quite a huge group of us. So we all sat down for lunch, and I got to learn more about them and the barristers and their journeys and things like that. So if that had been maybe like 4 years ago, I would have probably wouldn't have said much, but because I guess my communication in my eyes has grown throughout the years, I was basically able to, I guess, speak to other people, build rapport, and make connections. And again, it's with people that I'm still in contact with today. So yeah, that was really helped me. So that was a really good highlight as well.
I love the story and hearing like the story of your growth. So thank you for sharing. Amy, apologies.
No worries, it's an amazing story. I'd say for me, I was probably 3 weeks in when I kind of realized, okay, like I'm I know I'm doing kind of good at this. And I was basically just tasked with like doing a lot of research. So if the company got like Barclays as a client, I would have to research into them, research their competitors, any kind of news and stuff like that. What I realized the company weren't doing is they weren't kind of grounding the research in data. So they would just get kind of high level, news titles and then go into their clients' kind of meetings and saying, oh, well, Santander is doing this and, Lloyds is doing that. But they never really came to the table with numbers. And me doing an economics degree, all the research I did for my degree, you needed numbers in every single paragraph. So I kind of thought, okay, like this is what I'm used to doing for the past 3 years of my degree. Everything I do, let me actually add data in. And every task I got, I kind of, grounded the research in data. And then the execs started going into those client meetings, with these data points. And they don't have economics or statistics background, so they would have never thought to do that. But the data kind of gave them that standing that they needed with the client. So I constantly kind of got good feedback in that, as it wasn't something that they'd even thought of doing before. And it helped them to kind of fight their case, whether it was about like we need more funding or whatever it was. So yeah, I think I was 3 weeks in when I started doing that, and I thought, okay, like I've kind of built my niche, and I'm going above what the task needs. So hopefully, if I continue doing this, it will work. And yeah, it worked, I guess.
I love that. That is like the perfect example of like translating like those soft skills and hard skills into like visible contributions where you was able to really make a difference. So kudos to you, like for honestly like thinking of your feet, but utilizing like your skills and be like, there's a gap here and you are adding value to really improve the workflow. So that's amazing. Thank you. For all of you guys, what moments made you feel most aligned with your purpose or long-term vision during your internship? Oh, another big question. I love the thinking faces.
This might be a bit of a cop out of an answer, but probably towards like the end of my internship. When I think I finished on a Friday, and I was hybrid, as again, this was in 2021 during COVID. And I was in the office, and I asked like my manager, okay, like where should I leave my laptop? Like this is my last day. It's been, great working with everyone and etc. And then she was like, oh, like, can you log on Monday? And I was like, what? Like the internship's done. And she was like, no, like we'd love to offer you like a full-time role. So at that point, I was like, okay, like clearly everything I've been doing has been great. And I think one thing I learned is that you're not always going to get the physical or the verbal kind of thanks in the corporate world, but people are always watching what you do. And, there were some weeks where I got great feedback. There were other weeks where I just got nothing. So coming to the end of the 6 weeks, and them, wanting me to log on the Monday after my internship made me feel like, okay, like everything I've been doing has been good and has been right. And then I was there for 3 years. So at that point, I was kind of like, okay, like this has gone well. Clearly, everything I've been doing has been good enough. But yeah, that's the only answer I can think of.
I love that. And I do also emphasize that people are always watching and it is about what people are saying when you're not in the room. So I kind of wanted to ask like what were like 3 key things that you believe you did to leave a really good impression?
Yeah, I think as soon as I started, even though I was in the like investment banking division, I met everyone. So I wasn't interested in retail, but I met the partner of retail. I wasn't interested in telco. I met the partner of telco. I just wanted to meet everyone. And I was remote for the first 3 weeks. Then the last 3 weeks I was in the office. Again, as it was during COVID. So I looked on the company website, found everyone's name, and then went on my calendar and just put like a random 30 minutes in each partner's diary, just like a intro meet and greet. Obviously I asked them on Teams beforehand, but I just went out of my way to meet everyone because I thought the more people that know me, the more people that I can potentially work with or help with or do one task for, and everyone talks. So hopefully if I do that well, then everyone will be saying positive things about me. So I think that's what helps, the visibility. And I 100% made mistakes, but I think when you meet loads of people, if you meet 8 people and you make a mistake on a task on one, like for one person, the other 7 you've done great in. So I just kind of went through it in a probability mindset, like, okay, as long as 80% of the time I do the task right, if I make a mistake, I make a mistake. But yeah, I think working or meeting a lot of people, I think helped me. Yeah, that's the only answer I can think of.
No, thank you for sharing. I think, Ia, did you unmute?
Yeah. I was gonna say, when I thought, so the question was like, when do you feel like aligned sort of thing, right? Yeah, so I would say probably going back to what I mentioned previously about the presentation, I would say that's probably when I most felt like, okay, yeah, like this is probably, so obviously I did quite a lot of mindset was like split into a lot of different sections. So I spent most of my time with like the main team, which was media planning, which was I was in. And then that like every week we like sort of went to different teams, which was also quite fun because we had some teams in London, so we'll get to go to London and stuff. That was all fun. But yeah, so but I think during that time, we obviously the group I was in, we spent like a lot of time, and there was even times as well, like when we all had like a trip to London or something, because some of the interns were in London that we were working with. Even after work, we would all go to like let's say get some food or something, and then we'll just like carry on working our presentation, discussing ideas, and like being like, oh, actually maybe we should add this in or we should take this out. So I feel like at that point, like we were all like so invested into the piece of work that we're doing in this project, and like we just wanted it to be, we had like got given the other 2 previous years interns of what they had done, and we're just like, no, we need to like absolutely smash what those guys have done, like make it way, way, way better, like make sure like forever this company will think about us lot as interns and like think about our group. So yeah, we were really invested into it, and when we saw like the fruits of the labor and everything come out, I feel like at that point we were all, and yeah, we're all really, really happy with ourselves. And like the amount of compliments we're getting, just random people I didn't even know, just messaging me on Teams, being like, "Oh, you guys absolutely smashed that! Like we never even thought about this thing for BBC Sounds, all this sort of stuff." So I feel like at that point, yeah, I was like, okay, this is, yeah, really, like I felt really proud. We all felt really proud of ourselves.
I love that. No, thank you so much for sharing. I really, really want to know what this presentation is. Likewise, I also know what the training program was, Mary, that you shared before, but that can be for later.
And I think me, just to quickly add to the question you asked, I guess what made me feel most aligned, specifically in terms of like what I want to do with my career, to sort of segue, was all the collaboration that I did during my internship. So just to give a bit more, I guess, context, compliance is essentially making sure that the organization you're working with is conducting its business in a regulated way. So just to give an example, let's just say I'm working for like JP Morgan, for example. The compliance team will ensure that all the policies that JP Morgan has, all the internal rules and regulations that they have, is it in line with, for example, the Financial Conduct Authority and what they and how they see financial firms in the UK should be operating. So that's essentially what compliance is in an umbrella term. So with that, compliance for me, it's you sort of have to work with other people, in my opinion, because I remember during my previous internship at Ageas Insurance, the company they were working with, they wanted to essentially introduce a new IT system to the company and get rid of the old one because the new one was way more efficient, cost effective, etc. So it was quite a big internal project that pretty much every single person or quite a few people within teams across the business were working on. And I remember during my time with the legal team, I had to read a bunch of long contracts essentially and find specific clauses to sort of take out and rehash and provide my opinion on. And I remember being in a meeting with me, like 2 members of the legal team, other people from different teams, all working together to sort of bring about the best outcome we could for this big internal project. And yeah, it just made me realize that, okay, I really do like working with other people and getting to know people across the business. Because sometimes when you're working in like a team, you're sort of not stuck for lack of a better word, but you work with the same people over and over, sort of don't get to meet people in like finance team or people in different teams. So yeah, just all of the collaboration that I ended up doing at Aegeus, it really confirmed to me that, okay, I really like this. And just like collaborating with other people, I feel like that's a strength and a benefit that you gain over time, because different people equals different views and points and perspectives that you yourself wouldn't have thought of. So I think you can gain a lot from just collaborating. And yeah, compliance is very, very big on collaboration, and it's something that I want in my future career. And I feel like compliance for me is like the perfect thing for that. So yeah.
Love that. No, thank you so much for sharing. I think the final question I have is because I have seen it one question in the webinar chat is what's one thing that you would do differently if you was to kind of like go back and start your internship again? It's okay if you say nothing as well.
I can start. So I think one thing I'll do different. I'm trying to see how to word it about differently. I think I would mainly just carry on talking to like as much people as possible, like while you're there. So like I there's something that me and like so I said I had an internship that I was working with. So me and her, we basically created this thing that we just like called BBC Discovery, I think we called it. And so we basically just put like an hour in our calendar once a week or maybe like twice a week where we would just leave our desk. And I think it does depend on the environment. It's quite similar to what Amy said about just scheduling meetings with everyone. And we would just walk around the office, like to all the different floors. And then there was another building as well to the other building, all the different floors. And we'll just walk up to random people and basically be like, hi, this is our name. My name is EA. We're an intern here. And most of them wouldn't even know they've got interns. And they'll be like, oh, you're an intern here. Like, with what? We're like 10K Black interns. I've never heard of it. But and then we'll explain a bit about it. And we'll basically be like, what do you do? And I feel like it was quite good because you actually learn to like realize a lot of humans like to talk about themselves and they like to actually like talk about what they do and that with themselves. So we got so many different connections just through that. Like we would just do it for an hour, like twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, like whatever time we had, depending on what our work schedule was like. And I say the connections made through that were like so important and valuable. There was so many experiences of like getting tours of like the Radio One station or going into like the main newsroom in London that like no other intern was actually able to do, but us just purely because we spoke to someone who was just like, oh, would you be interested in this? Or they'll just message you on Teams, being like, would you be interested in this? Because you spoke to me about what you're doing here and this. And I feel like so I feel but I would say like during it we got quite comfortable like in the last like 2 weeks or so where we just kind of stopped doing that really. So I would say throughout the whole internship just don't stop and just like speak to as many people as you can. LinkedIn is so important as well. Make sure you have your LinkedIn. Your LinkedIn is like presentable. Don't have to have a lot of experience, but just make sure you've got a good picture, a good background, some information about you, and ask everyone for their LinkedIn. Like because there's no harm in doing it. You can always connect back to them. You can always message them. Um, and I feel like people, I think it is very company dependent, but people tend to be nice. Like there's people who I'm currently working anyway, but there's other people who I met who I just spoke to randomly, but I asked them what they did, who were just like, oh, there's this vacancy, like internal vacancy in BBC currently. Do you want to apply for it? Because I think you'll be perfect for this role. And I feel like if I didn't do those other sort of stuff and I was currently still looking for a position, I feel like that is something that would have definitely set me apart. And people tend to remember someone who just walked up to them and said like, "Oh, hi, my name's this. Like, what do you do?" So I feel like that's something that I would have definitely carried on doing because I would did it for like I think the last week or two we just kind of stopped because we just done it so much. But I feel like throughout the whole internship, just be like as curious, ask everyone, like ask for their name, ask them what they do, and just get as much information because people will remember you. And it's like I think um Amy said that, and you think you said it as well, the way that people are going to talk about you when you're not there. So those are the type of discussions that when you're not in the room, people be like, oh, this person looks intriguing and like looks like they're interested, looks curious, and I feel that will help you go a long way.
If you're not taking notes, everyone, networking is key. Our alumni have said it here. But yeah.
I think for me, the one thing I would have done differently is, again, it was a different time, but done another internship. I'm envious of the people who have done like one in insurance and one in banking and one in, healthcare, whatever. There's so many opportunities for you guys now, so please take it. When I was in the program, it was just banking and investment management, and that was it. So I would have loved to have done another just to kind of experience a different career, as I've now based my career off of my internship, which is, great and a privilege, but I would have loved to just have another 6 weeks to, experience a different career path. So that would be my advice.
I love that. So, go on.
And just to quickly add, similar to what Ia and Ami have stated, I think for me, I would have sort of tried to network, the word is out again, a bit more strategically. I remember during one of my, I guess, meetings with the company secretary during my time at GS Insurance, she was telling me about one of the current board members of the company. And I was like, oh, okay. In my head, I was like, okay, I made a mental note to try and meet her during my internship. But the 6 weeks went by and yeah, I never met her actually. Didn't end up meeting her. And I think to this day, that was sort of one of my, I guess, regrets, if I can call it that. Because even when I made a LinkedIn post after my internship had ended, she commented. And in my head, I was like, maybe make sure to message her or send a connection and message her, say thank you or something, because I could see the work that, I could see the fruit of her hard work essentially, because she's had like 3, 4 decades within the space. And yeah, that's one thing I kind of regret. And yeah, she's the chairwoman of the company I was at and also a board member of Hargreaves Lansdowne as well. So that's, if you can try and network strategically, that would be an advice that I would give you. Because you never know where, I guess, meeting the right people, quote unquote, can take you and the opportunities that can come from it. So yeah, that's sort of a regret of mine.
It's never too late. I just want to put
A year has gone by. But you're right.
It's like, don't let that be your regret. Turn it around and message her or something. Like, life is too short to live with regrets. But no, thank you for sharing. That concludes our panel. So we're gonna dive into questions that you have asked. So we've got Zainab who has asked, when did you discuss your full-time offer with them? I know, Ami, you mentioned that you was very fortunate where you was handing off your laptop. Your manager was like, hey, can you come back in on Monday? But I think it could be interesting to maybe rephrase that question to, when did you kind of like position that, you was interested in, being hired full time, if you did? And that goes to everyone as well, because I know, Ia, you said from the get-go, you was kind of like assuming I'm going to be here, and then, so yeah.
I think, yes, I was interested, but also like it was a different economic time. 2021 was very dark. So I went into the internship with, I need a job and I'm going to do everything possible to get this job. So yeah, I didn't go into it with like, oh, like, let me learn and see if it's for me. I was like, no, I need a job. So I need to do well and get this job. So I think 3 weeks in, I realized, okay, I'm actually interested. Let me like turn things up a notch and really kind of work hard to get it. In terms of discussing the full-time offer, it was that Friday, and then I started the Monday. Again, it was a different time, but without it, I would have had no income. So yeah, I was interested, but also the kind of economic circumstances at the time kind of pushed me to take it, if I'm being honest.
I'll say for me personally, as I said, like obviously I went in head first, like yeah, I'm guaranteed here. But then after some time, so I'm basically someone I'm very interested. It's something I did before uni. I've been doing it for years in social media marketing. So I was like very interested in getting into that space and looking at the BBC. And then once I actually joined that team in the BBC, because I just like asked questions and I met the guy who like runs it and asked him, can I join you guys for a week? And I realized they don't actually like they basically just outsource everything to another company. So I was just like, oh, this is not what I thought it was at all. So I think at that point as well, I was sort of already like, oh, I don't think I'd actually want to remain here purely because it's not what I thought it was. So I think that's when I actually started looking for other jobs. And fortunately enough, I was able to get a job straight after my internship and what I do now. Um, but I feel like on in the last week with our like manager, we did discuss like full-time positions, and he had basically told us like, um, well, it was me and the person I worked with. He was basically like, yeah, we want you guys, but we just don't have space right now. So just he gave us like his number, um, and his email, and basically said like, I'm gonna message you like in around November time. So we finished in end of summer around August. And he was, I'm gonna message you around November time because that's when new positions come in. So I'll give you a message if you haven't found something by then. You're still looking for a position. We should have open positions like within the team that you're working in. So we sort of discussed it there. I mean, like, granted, he actually never messaged, but it wasn't for me. It wasn't an issue because I'd already been in another position. But yeah, I feel like it's a difficult when to know like to start discussing that because you don't want to look like you're just there for that like sole reason. But obviously, it's also on your mind like I do need a if you're in final year anyway or you finish uni and you're not going back, you are like also in that mindset of, like I do kind of need a job. So yeah, it is a difficult one.
Oh, yeah, Mary, go on. Yeah.
It's just a quick one-liner. I guess I sort of not can't answer the question, but with my internships, they didn't have any open vacancies, unfortunately, when I was doing them. So I guess I'm still in a position where I'm yet to receive a job offer in my field. But I know that my story will sort of change very soon. So yeah, it's sort of my 2 cents.
I love that. No, thank you all for sharing. Ngozi has asked if you hadn't had those experiences during your internship, such as team collaboration, would you be in a different position in your career? So, no, Mary, you did touch on a bit of like collaboration and how that like kind of shaped your vision in terms of your career.
Mm-hmm. And to answer your question, Ngozi, I believe I would be in a different position in my career because I feel like one benefit that collaborating with people, especially when it comes to big internal projects, is that you get to sort of make yourself visible, similar to what Amy was saying earlier. So you make yourself visible, make your contributions visible, you get to meet people you wouldn't have met had you said no to working on this project. So I feel like if I had said no to this opportunity to work collaboratively across the business, I would have probably been, if I'd gotten a role, for example, still in the same position I was in, sort of entry level, not many people knowing who I am, not many people knowing what I do at the company even. And I know it's something that, for me, that I don't want because I know I do want to make some sort of impact wherever I work at. So I feel like if you are given the opportunity to collaborate with people across different teams and departments, go for it, because you have to also remind yourself that the contributions are valid and they do matter, and sort of want to hear your opinions as well, even if you are an intern. So yeah, I believe I would have definitely been in a completely different position in my career had I said no to, working with others. Yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Um, I can add on to that as well. You, I would say I would personally, I'm not too sure if I'll be in a different position. I could be like, it's quite hard to predict, but I would say definitely like experiences such as team collaboration, every experience I had in my internship, it builds transferable skills. So it might not be exactly what like you're gonna use in the internship, which you might go and then to use in your next position or like in an interview for your next position. But little things such as team collaboration can be used as a transferable skill to something else like totally different. So I think getting as much, I think it was someone else who said like saying yes to every opportunity, like literally every opportunity in your internship. Like you're there for a short time, you might as well say yes to it. Like and you can get some experience there, and that experience will always be able to be able to be used like transferably to whatever field like you're looking into.
Thank you. And I think last question for you all is, Chris Divvy has asked, what should you bring on your first day of your internship? So what is that kind of like internship starter pack?
Uh,
Oh, I was going to say definitely a notebook and a pen. Don't be that person typing in your notes app on your iPhone. Don't do that, especially if you're in a banking, insurance, corporate environment. Bring a notepad and pen and just look like you're taking notes. Please take notes, but if you don't want to, at least write things down as people are talking, as it shows that you're engaged. And then like, water, wear something smart, etc.
yeah, I'll piggyback off that. I'll say yeah, definitely a notebook and a pen for sure. Take notes as well on your first day, 100%. I would say also whoever you're in contact with at the company. So for me, it was like my line manager. I just emailed her and basically being like, what? I asked her, what should I bring? And she was like, basically just bring yourself and a passport because there was details we need to get. So, but I still obviously went to go bring a notebook and a pen as well, which they provided me with some anyway. But it's good to make sure that you're prepared. But I would say make sure like email whoever you're in contact with and ask them, just so you don't want to miss anything out. And bring a smile as well. Make sure you smile.
Yeah, I second everything that EA and Amy have said. And also, if you're allowed to take notes during like any meetings or things like that, that's also helpful to sort of look back and actually understand what the meeting was about and things like that. And I'd also say bring in a positive and open attitude, because you never know. You might have been given a sort of idea of what you're going to do, but then things or tasks may pop up that you hadn't envisioned yourself doing. Just I guess back to what we were saying earlier, just say yes to the opportunity. Yeah, positive attitude, notepad, pen, say yes, be open-minded, and have what's the words? A good attitude as well whilst you're doing the work. Yeah, that's what I'd say.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that advice with our interns. That wraps our panel. I just want to thank you all for your time, for sharing your insights, experience, and knowledge. I know that our interns have heavily benefited from it. I know that I have, from learning all about your incredible experiences. So thank you for sharing. Yeah, everyone's saying, well, Christopher's saying thank you, Chantal's saying thank you. Yeah. So I hope you all have a lovely afternoon, and I also wish you the best of luck on your internships when you start as well. So take care, everyone.
Thank you. Good luck, everyone, in internships.
Thank you. All the best.